Joining me now in studio to talk some more is CTV News political commentator Scott Reid, formerly Director of Communications for Paul Martin, Adrienne Batra, Editor-in-Chief of the Toronto Sun, and from Montreal, CTV News political commentator, former NDP leader Tom Mulcair. Welcome back to all of you.
Good to be here.
Thanks.
Okay.
Hi there, Marilla.
Quick round one.
Wait, quick. Should we all talk over each other really fast?
Let's do it all right now, immediately, and it'll be just like the last 2 hours.
Tom, you missed that. You should have been talking at the same time. Okay, so let's talk just very quickly. Who won this debate? Who impressed you the most? Tom, I'll give you that one first.
I think that clearly Justin Trudeau, once again, because nobody was able to score a knockout, comes ahead on points. But I think Andrew Scheer was a very close second. He certainly did much better than he did in last week's French debate. Interesting.
Scott?
It's interesting. Well, adopting the same logic, I think that Trudeau had a good night. I think that the format really aided Trudeau because it was very hard for people to concentrate their fire over sustained time at the Prime Minister. Scheer took as many attacks as Trudeau. I thought the Singh, you want to talk about pure performance, I thought that Singh had a good night. I don't agree with Tom in that. I thought that Scheer had a rough night. I thought he couldn't get traction. I thought he was under attack a lot. And I think that moment that Elizabeth May wheeled on him and said, not an inch, we can't trust you on women's choice, I think that's the kind of thing, unlike a lot of things we heard, that might move votes.
I think that I'm not going to give anybody a win because no one actually had a big win tonight, but I'm going to give a slight edge to Mr. Singh tonight. I think he articulated himself quite clearly. He started out a bit tense, but loosened up. He went after Justin Trudeau on the Indigenous issues. He was able to go after Justin Trudeau on a lot of the social issues, areas by which that progressive left vote will look at the NDP and think, okay, I'm comfortable with this. And Andrew Scheer, like to Scott's point, he did take almost as many shots as the Prime Minister did. So you definitely see, as to use Scott's constant analogies of boxing, the undercard going after Andrew Scheer because they recognize that he certainly is, competition. But really, I think this was the Singh Scheer show tonight.
Go ahead, Tom.
I think that one of Mr. Trudeau's best moments was when he looked around the other people on stage with him and said, I'm the only one here who's willing to fight Bill 21, which is a Quebec law that discriminates against religious minorities. Now, Mr. Singh had the line already prepared. I've heard him use it before. I go to Quebec, I'm wearing my turban, I'm an advertisement for fighting against religious discrimination. But that doesn't really answer the question of a 17-year-old Sikh boy who's in high school in Pointe-Claire, thinking of going to John Abbott College in Police Tech next fall, and being told of the 10,000 police jobs in the province of Quebec, it's illegal to hire him because he's practicing his religion. He's being told to either join the RCMP or cross over to Ottawa. So I do think that Mr. Singh's answer it's always very delicate, and I think Mr. Trudeau did super well because he's going to be judged on whether or not he's actually challenging Jagmeet Singh on what it's like to suffer racial and religious discrimination. But at the same time, I think it was the most prime ministerial moment for Justin Trudeau when he said he was willing to fight it. It's going to cost him in Quebec. It'll be picked up a lot tomorrow. But I also think that in the rest of Canada, people will recognize in that answer something that they can identify with.
Okay, so I also thought Mr. Singh did quite well, and so did Mr. Blanchet.
Yeah.
I was surprised. Didn't really know enough about him sort of in a debate situation. Obviously, he was very good in the French debate because he was sort of in his crowd. But now he said some quite impressive things. Okay, who had the best one-liner? Adrienne.
Well, I think I'm going to give it... Okay, first for best one-liner went to Jagmeet Singh when he said you can vote for Mr. Mr. Delay or Mr. Denial. And then the last one, the last zinger where people will clip that, is Mr. Scheer when he says, you seem to be obsessed with the provincial politics. Why don't you go and run for the leader of the Liberal Party of Ontario?
Scott.
I love the Mr. Delay, Mr. Deny line. That's a great classic TV line, very clippable. But I think, again, that Elizabeth May had the line of the night when she turned on Scheer and said, not 1 inch, never when it comes to a woman's right to choose. Again, and the reason I say that is not only was it a good, clean line, but I think unlike, the Ontario Liberal leadership stuff, it's the kind of thing that people might change their vote around.
All right, Tom Mulcair, best one-liner.
It's a line that's fraught for Elizabeth May, who is on record as having talked about as abortion as a woman's frivolous right to choose. And she said that to a group of nuns. So she knows how to change her answer on that. I also agree that sings Mr. Delay or Mr. Denial was a lovely image to summarize the whole thing. The big loser tonight was people actually trying to listen to the debate, especially on climate change, because it was just one voice over the other, and you could never make it clear.
Yeah.
And can I say something about that? Because I thought, I mean, we talk a lot about who had the best line, who had the cleanest moment, all that kind of stuff. One of the things that I thought Trudeau did really well, it's not that glamorous, not that interesting, but whenever someone started to get a run at him, where they were putting him on his back foot, he started talking, and he jammed over them. And so, and Tom said this before we went on with the debate. He said that that was something that Trudeau did in 2015. It was even more effective, I think, in this year's debate because it denies the opponent a clip. It turns it into audio mulch, and you can't clip mulch.
Okay, so
but you know what,
so
Scott,
that denies
I'll
Canadians
add,
a good opportunity to hear what was needed to be said.
What needs to be said.
And I think that at some point Canadians will judge that because they're not fools. Everybody listening tonight was in their living room saying, would you shut up already?
Yes,
Let the guy finish his sentence.
Exactly.
And depending on which of the 5 journalists was there, some of them were more active in moving in and saying, let Mr. So-and-so or let them finish their answer. Others just let the whole thing go, and it was the Tower of Babel.
Yeah. Okay, did anybody learn anything new, either about the candidates themselves or their policies? Scott? I'm going to start with Scott.
Well, that's an interesting question. I think if people learned something new, and if there was a little bit of new policy territory, it's what Tom talked about earlier. Trudeau tried to, and I think largely succeeded, in edging out a little separation for himself on Bill 21. He made the distinction of himself as saying, I'm the one person here who reserves the right to intervene. That may be smart for him.
Adrienne?
I don't think I learned anything new in particular.
Yeah.
I don't think that they nuanced anything. I don't think they changed their positions on anything. I don't think that they and anybody had an aha moment. I don't think that Canadians, frankly, are going to take anything a lot away from this. I don't think we're going to see polls move. I don't think any of those things are really going to happen.
Tom, go ahead.
One of the takeaways was I think Andrew Scheer would really like to get back the 1 or 2% that polls are indicating that maybe Maxime Bernier's got. And he did it with a great swipe right at the end saying, well, which Maxime Bernier is it?
That's
the Maxime
fair.
Bernier who used to be
point.
a separatist in Quebec? That's well documented. Everybody from Quebec knows that he used to be a separatist, but he doesn't like talking about it. And what about the guy who used to be in favor of supply management? So he just went through a litany like that. It was very effective.